Hello, welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to be assembling a new server into a compact 2U Rackmount chassis, the one shown right here. I'm going to be building a pretty decent system, not top of the line by any stretch of the imagination, but something that's got a lot of grunt behind it and is going to last for a little while. Now the main requirements behind this system is for it to have quite a bit of RAM to run a lot of things, which is what this comes in here. This is two 16 gig kits, or 32 gigabytes worth of DDR3. It needs to be silent, or as close to silent as possible, when idle and under a load, which is where these Noctua fans are coming in, which will be replacing the currently fitted ones in the case here, which are just some cheap LED things that I had hanging around. And also it needs to have some storage on board, but not a massive amount, because I have got a Synology NAS, which has got 5 4TB WD red drives in it. So these two WD drives here are from previous videos. That's from a cheap PC tower I picked up in a car boot sale. And this one here is from a Sky HD box. That's 500 gigabytes, and that one is 1.5 terabytes. This little desktop PC here, the Lenovo ThinkCentre, that unit I picked up off eBay. It is a complete desktop PC, but it is missing the hard drive. So it's come from a business or an office or something. And I picked this up for around about £65 I think it was, and it's got a Core i5 2400 I think it is, non-K obviously, it's just a standard desktop, and it's got the micro ATX motherboard in it, which should be standard mounts, and it's got 4 DDR3 RAM slots, which is where this RAM comes in. The board should take 32 gigs of RAM okay, and it should fit into a standard case, but I may have to do some messing around to get the front panel buttons to work, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The power supply is already in the case I'm probably going to be using, or I might change it out, I'm not sure yet. We'll get to that in a moment. But for now, I'm just going to show you the insides of both of these systems before I strip them down. Okay, so we'll start with the new Rackmount chassis that the server's going into. Well, not new, but the new case for this system. This is still built pretty much the same as it was in the previous video. I'll put the old build of this system up in the corner here, so if you want to go and watch that, feel free to. As you can see, there's not that much room in this case. The one thing that I am a bit disappointed and stuck on is a cooler, which I was hoping Noctua would do some sort of a cooling heatsink fan for the CPU in a chassis like this, but they don't seem to have anything that blows front to back, goes through the side of the heatsink as opposed to down onto the board. So maybe that'll be something they design in the future, and then I'll be able to fit it with one of them. But I did contact them on Twitter and they confirmed they don't have anything at the moment suitable for this use. This power supply, I'm not sure what the hell it is. I think it's some Casecom 500 watt. It's got 2 fans on it. I don't know whether it was overly loud or not. We'll have to try that. If it's loud, it'll be being changed, but it's just standard ATX power supply. It's only a cheapish one, but it's lasted really well, and I've not ever had a problem with it really. But it's not running any heavy loads like graphics cards or anything. These drive bays are designed to take 2 hard drives, but they actually don't fit because of the sticks of RAM on the motherboard. So I can only put 2 drives in here, so I have ordered a mount for in this DVD drive bay to mount a hard drive, which is coming soon. So that's pretty much it for what's in this system at the minute. It's a Core 2 Quad Q6600 chip in it at the moment. It's got 8 gigs of DDR2 in 4x2 gig sticks. It's got a 500 gigabyte hard drive here, and probably like 160 or something here. So this will be Windows, this will be the storage. And that's just going to be stripped out. Okay, so this is the new Lenovo system that I've got, that's going to be being stripped down and recased. Just open the lid on it. And you can see it's quite a compact little system really. It's lovely and clean, so I presume when they've been taking the hard drives and stuff out of them, they'll have dusted them or something. It came from a computer recycling company. That's the hard drive mount. As you can see, there's no hard drive fitted in it. There is some RAM in it at the moment. This is like 8 gigs of some other DDR3 that I had lying around just to check the system out. It did come with, I think, a 4 gigabyte stick of RAM, which I ended up removing and putting in something else for somebody. and then I just had to put these in here again to test now. Stuff is always getting moved around in systems here. This weird thing on the CPU heatsink and fan, like shroud, is screwed in, which I'm going to have to undo that. And you can see the board looks pretty much standard. I did have a look on Google Images before I even considered purchasing one of these to check that the motherboard did look okay, which it does. Just the only thing that might be a problem is the front panel connectors, which are on this block here. So I'm going to have to get a multimeter out and measure what goes to the switch, what goes to the LEDs. Thus, just look, take the front panel off, something like that, and then I can rewire it up in the new case. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to have to strip this thing down, and strip the other one down, and then build this one into the other one. I'll probably just put it into time-lapse mode, stripping them down, and then I might go more in depth when I'm building them. Okay, so these are the other fans that were in here before. Flow light, something like that. I don't really know much about them apart from the fact they've got a red, green, blue and yellow LED, one in each corner. So now anyway, I need to clean out this filter, which is what I'm going to go and do right now. And first of all, I'm going to mount the noctua fans onto here. I've got both the motherboards just out of shot up here. I'm also probably going to have to change this power supply because it has got all Molex connectors, albeit lots of them, but they are all Molex. Alright, I've gone and cleaned out the dust filter. There's still a slight sort of sign of dust in it. Actually, you can't see it on the camera, but trust me, there is. But it's about as good as it's going to get. I can't really do any better than that. Now is to unbox these fans. I'm of course using Noctua's fans because I'm quite a big fan of their fans. These are the 80mm version. I've not actually had any of these before. I've had 40s, I've had 120s, 140s, but no 80s. Now obviously they come in their premium packaging. You get all your accessories and things with them. And they're just really good fans for low noise level and good performance. So I no doubt these will perform quite well, as all of the other Noctua fans do. Tried and tested. They've got their rubber mounts on them as well, anti-vibration mounts. And you get obviously all the extension cables, low noise adapters, converters, low noise adapter, that one. That's a low noise adapter, so you can put two low noise adapters in line. That's an extension cable. This is a Molex power cable, but if you don't want to power them off the motherboard header, I'll probably be using the onboard header. You get the screws, and also these anti-vibration rubber mounts here, which are you put in the screw holes. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to use these though, but I might give them a try, to be honest. So the fans are going to want to be, that's the way that the grill goes. The fan cables want to be at the bottom, so they're going to want to be that way. They might actually fit, just about, to be honest. So we put that rubber mount through there, and then we can pull, maybe, oh yeah, it just does go through. So now the fan should sit into there and fit quite nicely. So I'm going to put the other four in. I did try to mount these in my 1U firewall system not so long ago. If you watched that video, you'll probably remember that these wouldn't fit in that case. That was also made by the same company that makes this case, because the screw holes for the fans were so close, like they were literally, the screws would catch the metalwork here, and they were only 40mm fans anyway. But anyway, that's the right way up. That's the way we want the fan cable. So now that should sit on these mounts, and the camera randomly stops recording, but I've got 2 of them in. I'm just doing the 3rd now, which we just need it to pop through like that, and then this one just a bit more. There we go. So that's one of the fans installed, with the cable coming out from the middle. That'll be the left one. So that's going to sit like that. I'm just going to stick the other one on. I won't bore you with installing that one. Alright, both of the noctua fans for the front are now installed, using the anti-vibration mounts, the rubber ones included. The connectors are coming out the middle, as they should be. We need to just put this foam back in. Now we need to screw this back into the front of the case. Alright, lovely. So the noctuas are now installed. I would tip it up and show you, but all those screws are on the power supply. The cables are here. We may need some of the extensions or low noise adapters. I'm not sure yet. We'll come to that in a minute when the motherboard is in. So the next thing is to get the I/O shield in for the motherboard. Now I'm not sure whether this is going to fit, because it's different to a standard motherboard shield in the way it's got these little sort of groove mount things on it. Normally they push in and clip. So, I mean, it seems about the same physical size. I guess we just kind of go for it. Maybe if I latch it onto the bottom. Yeah, the bottom's sat in. It just doesn't clip in at the top. You can see that the bottom's sat in okay, but these at the top are just a bit too long. So if I can maybe pick up the top of the case or down, push that tab, it should fit in. Might have to get some pliers on this. So let's try again. Beautiful. Just this one still. He's not quite clearing it, but I'll just bend that down a bit more. And we're in. Lovely. So I'll have to bend them back up from the back. Okay, so I've just put the I/O shield clips in place again. I had to use a bit of gentle persuasion to get them in, using some pliers and a hammer. But they're in there nicely. There's a little bit of a rattle, but it's not going to go anywhere once the board's up to it, and it's a padded back shield anyway. So let's drop the motherboard in. Obviously the CPU cooler that's on here now isn't going to work in this case, because the lid is literally going to sit on top of it, or pretty much. So I'm going to have to change the CPU cooler. I will probably have to fit, for now, this Freezer 11 LP off the old board and system onto here. I believe this does support this socket, but I guess we'll find out. If not, I'll have to throw something else together. Actually, there's more room than I thought there would be, but there's about that much room between the fan and the top of the case, just the tip of my finger there. So it would probably work, but it wouldn't run too cool. I've just thought, as I was about to put the second screw in, I actually need to take this cooler off before I put the board in, because it has got a back plate on it. So if I don't, I'm then going to lose this back plate behind the motherboard tray. So I'm going to unscrew the cooling fan. There we go. So I'm going to pop that over there, and I'm going to take the back plate off the reverse of the motherboard. It has got some sort of little clips to hold it into the board. So that's free now. And we don't need anything else behind the board on the Arctic cooler. and also stock coolers, which you'll probably end up with a stock cooler if that Arctic cooler doesn't fit. And I'm also going to do a little bit of cable management whilst the board is unscrewed now, because I've just thought that I can run the USB XS under the board and then just to the header here. So I'm going to tuck some of them away now and then screw the board on. Okay, so I've got the motherboard screwed in entirely now. I've also connected up the USB header for the front panel, and the front panel power LED, hard drive LED and power switch, which I've got here the front panel connector from the original case that the board was in. It's a 13 pin connector because this kind of one is blurred out, but these two here on the end connect to the little LED, which is the hard drive activity LED, and that's brown and yellow one here. Then we've got a space and a space where there's nothing connected, and then these two, which are green and blue, go to the big LED, which is the power LED. And then we've got the black and the white, which are one in from the end, and those go to the switch, of course, turn it on and off. So that's that. We should be good now in terms of the front panel. The one thing I haven't been able to connect, for obvious reasons, is the reset button, which is here, reset switch. So I'm going to get the board to a state where I can turn it on, and then I'll find out which ones of these are the reset by using a screwdriver and just going over the terminals and seeing which one resets the system. Then that's how I'll know. But anyway, let's just move these screws off the power supply. I can then show you the noctua fans in the front there that are fitted, and I can also see now that I am indeed going to need to use at least one of those fan extension cables, because the fans headers on this board, this is the CPU fan, which has got to remain for the CPU fan. We've got one called power fan here, and then we've also got a system fan down at the back. So this fan I'm just going to put straight onto the power fan header, and that's that one done. Lovely. Then the next one is going to be going to that system fan header, so I'm going to need to get the extension cable out of here, which I think is this one. Extension cable, yep. And I'm going to just undo that, and you simply plug it in line. And I can sort this out later on in terms of cable management. But that's going to plug into there and come all the way along the side. So that's that. That's the fans hooked up. I think I'm just going to clean off the CPU and then try and mount the low profile cooler now. So I'm going to get the cooler. Okay, so it turns out I can actually use this heatsink and fan in here like I was going to, because of clearance issues. Now if you notice how low down it is and where the design of the thing is, these heat pipes going that way are going to literally sit on top of the VRM and these caps, and if it's in it on the other ways, then these grills are resting on top of those and it doesn't make contact with the CPU. And I could turn it around this way so it wasn't over the VRMs, but then the RAM slots are in the way. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to find another cooling solution for this. So this one's not going to work. I could probably just about get away with it if I put something over the VRM, but that's then going to restrict airflow to them. So let me have a think. Okay, it's time to drop the cooler into position. I'm going to put it that way, purely because of the length of the fan cable that way. So let's just sit it over and push in diagonally. This is actually still not very secure. Oh God, we may have a problem with the holes in the motherboard as well, because of the bloody back plate that it had. You see these original backplate mounts have also got, if it would focus, they've also got the little bits that stick up and clip this plate through. So I'm a bit stuck here at the moment. I think I'm going to have to put that other cooler on that came with it for the minute, and then try and get something that can screw into these holes on this mount, because I don't think I'm going to get anything with push pins that's going to fit in them holes, which is a bummer. Motherboard out time then. Okay, so after messing around, taking the board out, doing all that again, I've got the cooler in from the original case, which is this one here, and I've got the cables plugged in. I can't hide the USB cable as much as I had before because of that back plate under the board, so that's just going to have to sit sort of there. I run it under the board and then back on itself, whereas before it ran out around here in sort of a loop. But anyway, it's out the way. The fans shouldn't cause too many problems. I may as well plug in the power supply that's in here for the minute now, and just sort of see if the system posts and if the front panel connectors are done right and that these fans work. So this connector's the entire wrong way, which would be typical. We've got the 4-pin then that's not long enough. Yay. So I'm going to have to unscrew the power supply from the case. Let me do that. Okay, the power supply is unscrewed. Bit of dust hidden in that corner. Just going to pop it on this side. Move the case up. I can just throw this 4-pin in. Alright. 24 and the 4's in. Power supply's turned off. I'm going to pull in these cables. Hook up to the onboard VGA. I'll put in the keyboard. And plug in the power supply. Now I can turn on. Well, nothing's set on fire or blown up yet, so that's a good sign. If we press the power button, it's on. We've even got a power light. Ooh. And we've got light up on the screen. This power supply definitely wouldn't have been used because you can just hear the noise from it now. It's way too loud. So that needs sorting out. See, both of those nocturnal fans are going, which is nice. Also sounds like the CPU fan is getting ready to take off, which ain't quite right. So let me investigate this. I'm going to have to get a keyboard out because it's buried at the moment. Okay, well it turns out I did something a bit derp for the moment. Now the reason the fan was going so quickly, just ramping up, was because this wasn't plugged in. If I unplug it again. What this is a thermal sensor probe. So basically this thing is measuring the temperature. This was located just at the side of the front intake fan on the case, and it plugs into here, which is marked THD, as in thermal hard drive. You can hear the fan pick it up now. And I definitely don't want the fan running like that. So I'm going to plug this back in, and you'll hear it start to go down again. Or it should go back down and not keep ramping up. Okay, it sounds like it's starting to wind down again now. Yep, it's going down again. I also connected the speaker here, because I've not been getting any post beeps out, so I think it may need that for the beeps for some reason. And as well, I've now hooked up the reset switch, so the system reset works. Let's try and get into the BIOS. So yeah, the reset switch is working. That's actually the end 2 connectors right there, which is 13 and 11, something like that. If you look at the original connector, you can see there's 2 crimps in there, but there's no cable that goes to them, which was why I went and guessed them 2 first, and I was right. Okay, so I've spent quite a long time since I did the last little bit of recording trying to get a power supply into this unit with cables long enough, which I've been really struggling to do. So I've got one in that's sort of working now. It's not ideal, it will be being changed because it's a intake from the top one, whereas I want everything to be going through. So this is going to be changed, it's just temporarily. But I couldn't find any power supplies that had both the 24 pin and the 4 pin long enough to reach the socket. This one actually isn't even long enough to reach down to the socket here. So I had to literally go and make a extension cable here. I've made this myself with an old power supply that was dead and a motherboard that was dead. I unsoldered the 4 pin socket off the board, chopped the cable off the power supply, soldered it and heat shrinked it all together in here, and I've made this extension cable. So that's now allowing me to use this power supply, because I don't have actually any power supply of a lower wattage that's got cables long enough, at least on the 4 pin, to reach down to this corner where the power socket now is. They'll only come to about here. So my solution for that, to allow me to use something that's not... See, the problem is if I use a bigger power supply, it's got loads more cables on it, like a Corsair CX500 or a TX650 or something like that. The cables just fill the case and there's no room for anything else, so I can't use that. Anyway, the downside I've got here again is it's all Molex connectors, so I need to use some Molex to SATA converters, but luckily I've got a box full of stuff like that. And I need to get the memory and stuff installed on here, but first I'm just going to check this thing boots up posts now that these connectors and stuff are in. I've checked this with a meter and it does pass through okay. So let's plug in the power and check the system comes on. Also, this power supply is one of those gimmicky gamer ones that the fan does light up with blue LEDs, unfortunately. So she's turning on, and we've got a video output, so that's good. Brilliant. Turn the power off. I'm gonna now install the hard drives into the caddies, I think, but I'm gonna have to do the memory first before I do that, otherwise it's gonna be awkward as hell. Let me check that it's discharged. I'm gonna take these sticks out that I've got in for testing, and I'm going to get the new kits, the two 16 gig kits. There's a single 8GB stick. So that gives us 8 gig. Let's up that to 16. And I'm just going to quickly test that. It's appearing in the BIOS. So the system's posted, system info. We've got 16 gigabytes, lovely. It is downclocking it to 1333 megahertz instead of the 1600 that the kit actually is. But I believe that's down to the CPU or the board, one or the two. Either way, it doesn't really matter because it's more having lots of RAM than fast RAM that I need. So that's another 8. Fun fact, this system's now got more RAM in it than both my main workstation and my second workstation, because they've actually only got 16 gig in each one. So that's all 4 sticks in. Now if I power on, and power on, and then BIOS it. Didn't quite get it in time. That's okay, we've got a reset button now. Okay, system info, 32768 megabyte, so that's 32 gigabytes detected. Beautiful. Now it's time to put the hard drives into those caddies, which I'm going to go and do now. Okay, the hard drives are now mounted in the caddies, and they're ready to go into the system. So I'm going to put the 500 gig for the OS here, I think, on this side. And then the 1.5 terabyte here. So first I need to mount this probe somewhere. Something like that I'll probably do. It only needs to be floating around somewhere where it's sort of got ambient temperature. I'm going to then put the 500 in here. Now the issue we have with this case is the SATA port's been under this drive as well. So I'm going to get some really short SATA cables as well. Let me route in my box. Okay, so the 500 is now screwed in, and I've also managed to plug it in to power. I've got a Molex to SATA on here, and I've just took that all out of the way in there. And I've also found an extremely short SATA cable, which you can probably just about see in there. Let me pull the light in. Which you can just see, it's that black cable under the hard drive, down there, with a little yellow tag on it. I'll try and get you a better view side on. But it is from an Xbox 360 that connected the DVD drive to the motherboard. And I keep all little odd cables and things. Whenever I strip any electronics down, I keep all the parts because they come in handy. And that is actually, as you can see it there, the perfect length for going from the board SATA up to that hard drive. It couldn't have been any better. In fact, I was going to use one of these SATA cables, which I've got a few of these. This is the kind of one that's plugging in the DVD drive down there, that are appropriate length for that. But that one was just amazing how it fit perfectly. This one's probably going to go from the SATA ports to the next hard drive. That'll be about the right length. But for the minute, I'm just going to run it with the one hard drive in. So it's been run with just the one hard drive in for the minute. I'm going to install Windows on it and just check everything's working okay. Hooked up to a monitor. I've loaded my USB with my Windows 7 ready to install. Alright, so I've got Windows installed. I've also moved the system and got a proper monitor. But yeah, Windows is running on it. It is a bit noisy, I'm noticing, after I've had it on for a while, just because these fans seem to be running full pelt all the time. Like if I unplug one of them, it gets quite a bit quieter. All the noise is coming from the front fans as well, because if I stop this one, it makes no difference. And if I stop the one in the power supply, which I've also done by jamming my finger into a live power supply, not the best method, but yeah, that is not making any real noise. So the problem literally is these front fans, so I need to either go in the BIOS and change some settings or put low noise adapters on them. But anyway, the 500 gigs in, that's running. We've got Windows 7 installed, Windows 7 Professional with Service Pack 1, the 32GB of RAM coming up here, 31.8 gig usable because it's got reserved video memory and whatever for the onboard graphics. But yeah, all the drivers are installed for the stuff on the board, and it's now just sort of checking through updates, and it's got hundreds and hundreds of updates to do, but I'm not going to let it do all of them. I am going to shut it down and I'm going to install the other hard drive, and I'm also going to experiment with these fans and low noise adapters. But let's get the other hard drive in first. Okay, so this is without the front fans on. You can tell it's noticeably quiet. This power supply fan's the loudest thing in here. So yeah, I'm going to try these low noise adapters. You've got the low noise adapters in two variants. There's the RC12 and the RC10. One is ultra low noise and one is just low noise. So I'm going to start off with the normal low noise and see what the difference is like on the fans. So if we plug one fan in, it's actually not too bad running normal. Let me try restarting the system and see what's going on here and work out. Alright, so I've had a mess around and I settled on the low noise RC12 adapters, the ultra low noise ones, on both of the headers for both of the front fans. Both hard drives are in as well and connected up and spinning. I've got a short red SATA cable just running in down to under there. There's one free SATA port for another drive, of which the mounts have showed up. This is the DVD hard drive mount system, where you can put a hard drive in the DVD bay using the mounts for that drive without having to get all mount. So I'm not going to put these in right away because I've not got a drive or the need for it, but there will be a hard drive going in this top bay here soon. So yeah, in the BIOS we've got both hard drives here detected. I'm going to get into Windows and set them up now, and then we are pretty much sweet. Alright, I've put the lid on, so the system is all good. That speaker's just sort of hanging around here at the back, so that can live there for the minute, not too bothered. Okay, so we've got the Windows C drive and the local storage E drive. Now I just need to map up network drives and everything else, but I'm not going to bore you with that too much. That's probably where I'm going to leave this video. I mean, it's all up and running, it's in the box, it's where it needs to be. I will do another update on this system when I come to put it into a rack with my firewall system, which is also up here. That's the pfSense box, the one you silent low power thing. That's going to be going in a rack with this and a lot of other networking gear. So in that video I'll probably also be fitting the third hard drive into this. But for now I'm just going to set this thing up and run it. And it can just hang around like, well, that thing's done for the last 2 years waiting to be racked. They will eventually be racked at some point. It's just finding the time and getting the space to do it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like down below. Any questions, leave a comment, I'll try and answer them. Get subscribed if you'd like to see future technology and random videos like this one. And I hope to see you in the next one.